did I just watch? Honestly, what did I just watch? What's going on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, here to talk about Collision and Battle of the Belts. It's one 3-hour show. It's AEW Saturday Night Raw. Let's be real for a second. And I liked it. I had a lot of fun. I had 3 hours of wrestling that I enjoy from the number 2 company with their A show and all that. All those typical jokes that I make about Collision, because Collision's fucking awesome. But also, like, nothing's bad, nothing's terrible. I'm not really gonna rant on anything, but also, as a wrestling fan, I feel like I must have ingested some drugs at the beginning of this show. Now, we knew what we had going in. We had the FTR Bullet Club Gold 2 out of 3 falls match, and we had the 2 finals for the Owen Hart Cup tournament. So something was gonna go long. And that something was the first match that we're gonna talk about in a second. Now, here's the thing. I'll talk about Battle of the Belts separately, because Battle of the Belts is just kind of there. I'm not going to lie. The 3 announced matches that we got on Collision, I'll let you in on a little secret right from the get. I didn't get any of the winners that I wanted tonight. And that hasn't really tainted my view. Well, one might slightly. But that really hasn't tainted the show. The show was great. And they're really obviously putting a focus on getting people to watch Collision because it's on a Saturday, and the people that are working really hard to make Collision awesome are riding upstream on Schitt's Creek, trying to do a weekly show on Saturdays, competing not only with people that have lives, but also competing potentially with other companies' pay-per-views. Like tonight. I'll let you know something else for free right now. I'm trying to avoid the spoilers while I record this right now. I haven't really touched Twitter that much. I am going to go back and check out Slammiversary because it looks like it was a half-decent card. There's one match that has a really predictable and sad finish, and if I'm right, I feel really bad for Deonna Purrazzo, but we don't really need to talk about that right now. I will say, what's blown up from Friday night's SmackDown, the one issue surrounding a certain member of the YWC commenting grossly on the Shotzi Blackheart thing has absolutely blown up, and that guy does not deserve to be in our... I'm not even going to say his name, but he doesn't... You know who he is if you pay any attention to the YWC at all. That guy doesn't deserve to be in the community anymore, and I don't say shit like that usually because I'm not a cancel culture guy, but... yeah, my point being, they've thrown a lot into this because on any given Saturday they could be competing with other sports, they could be competing with just the fact that generically, like, we're not in lockdown anymore and it's the summer and people have things to do. And I'm sorry, I am the WWE guy, they will be competing with WWE pay-per-views as well. So, yeah, put this awesome tag team match on there, put the finals of the Owen in Calgary on tonight. There's one other unannounced match, but it wasn't really worth talking about. The first match went an hour, so my notes are a mess. This is the thing. We only had 3 matches announced, so you knew something was going to go long, and it was the tag title match. It was the 2 out of 3 falls tag title match between FTR and the Bullet Club Gold. So let's just start. I'm all over the place, like I say. I hope I get this across there. I'm not saying this in a negative way, but I'm really throwing my hands up in the air, and I'm as honest as I can be with you guys when I say, what the fuck did I just watch? Because we start off, it's Collision in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, for the Lance Storm fans out there. We do the shouty promos from Willow and Ruby and FTR and Bullet Club Gold and Starks and Punk, and I love the shouty promos at the beginning of Collision. I think it's fucking great. Then we get FTR versus Bullet Club Gold, 2 out of 3 falls. And as these guys are making their entrance to the ring, I do start noticing on Twitter, on my notifications, etc., people are freaking out that David Benoit was in the crowd tonight. Why? Why? And I'm not going to go off on this, because I already went off on the Shotzi thing. Yeah, by the way, stay tuned. I've already recorded WWE last week. It's already set to drop on Monday, so I'll do a little bit of time travel. I'm doing this now, but I'm already telling you that that's already in the can. You guys are going to get that on Monday. David Benoit hasn't done anything. The fact that David Benoit hasn't been able to have a career because of what his dad did is ridiculous. The fact that people are freaking out that he was in the building and people were saying, oh, I hope everybody feels safe, is retarded. Oh, yes. David Benoit in the front row in a Canadian show paying tribute to Owen Hart in guys, do better things with your time. But I do think it's awesome that he was there, ironically enough. FTR versus Bullet Club Gold, 2 out of 3 falls for the Tag Team Championships. FTR come out with their Hart tribute gear. They've had it before. It's just the FTR with the pink and the skulls and all that kind of thing. There's a lot of stalling. You guys are going to have to forgive me. These notes that I tried to take on this match are fucking ridiculous. I'm going to stumble, so I apologize in advance. A lot of stalling and cat and mouse from Bullet Club Gold to start. There's no guns in the... I wrote down no guns in the early going. We didn't get the guns out there for the entire match, which was a very nice touch. Commentary remind us ad nauseum that FTR are at the advantage, not only because they are champions, but because their record is 6-2 in 2 out of 3 falls matches. It gives them a great opportunity to talk about the 2 out of 3 falls matches that they had with the Briscoes. Now, this is kind of bittersweet as well, because those matches were awesome. Those matches were on ROH pay-per-views, and they never really talked about them that much on AEW programming because cancel culture is a thing, and it took one of these poor guys dying to be able to talk about how awesome they are. That's because the world is fucking terrible, but at least they got to talk about it here. We told the same story. I like this. I like the consistency of the dynamic in this match, because they told the same story that they told last week in their Eliminator match, where when it's Dax and Jay White in there, the whole story is Dax trying to ground down White, and when Cash and Juice get their turn in the ring, both of them turn up the pace of the match, which is really cool. A little bit of cheating by Dax at one point when he was going for one of the pins, and he kind of sort of grabbed onto one of the ropes. Big foreshadowing for something we got later on. We'll talk about it. I don't want to talk about it, but I will. But it wasn't... The way it was played off, it wasn't played off as an attempt to cheat. It was more played off as a tease, like, this is the kind of thing that you guys probably want to do to us, isn't it? And I thought that was cool. A little bit of character work from Dax was nice. Bulldog-style press by Cash with a really ugly landing by Juice. It looked to me, until I saw the replay, like he had fallen on his shoulder. I'm not a medical guy. I'm not doing the concern trolling thing. I just don't want to see people legitimately get hurt. It's not that hard. Dax eats the post at one point once it's him and Jay back in the ring, and his shoulder becomes the story. His shoulder becomes the story until Jay White eventually is able to successfully hit the Blade Runner for the first fall in the match. The first fall in the match goes to Bullet Club Gold. Now, that's predictable and not, because typically, it's like when you talk about the advantage in war games and stuff like that, you want to have the advantage on the heel side so that the baby faces are fighting back. Bullet Club Gold are the heels, but they're also really fun. So I know that doesn't negate them being heels. There's an LA Knight argument to be had in there somewhere. But the first fall going to Bullet Club Gold, the story in the match now becomes FTR gathering themselves after the first fall. Can they fight back? Can they recover? Can they even the score? Whatever. Dax is recovering on the outside because he just ate the first pin. They maul Cash 2-on-1 for a while, working on both his breathing and his vision, which I thought was really cool because it wasn't like they were working an arm or a leg or whatever. And immediately, I don't know why I thought this, but it's like if you wanted to destroy a spaceship and you could just bomb the whole body of the spaceship, or you could just like deactivate the computer inside, which is basically what you're doing to somebody when you take away their vision and you take away their oxygen. Really, really cool story. And obviously it all started with a hangman on the bottom rope, and we went from there. Once Dax is sort of recovered a little bit, he comes back in. He's a house of fire. He gets a near fall off a dirty looking brainbuster. He tries for the sharpshooter and fails and has an awkward fall in the corner, and just to make sure that he had an awkward fall in the corner, Jay then hit him with an exploder into the corner. I just wrote in big capital letters at this point, when Dax Harwood and Jay White have a chop battle, it's fucking awesome. Razor's Edge neckbreaker combination by FTR. Now, they said it on commentary. Apparently, this is a tribute to the Briscoes. I don't know enough about the Briscoes that I would have picked that up on my own, so shout out to Kevin Kelly and Nigel McGuinness for pointing that out. Their typical, like, one person does a suplex, one person does a splash thing fails because Bullet Club Gold get their knees up, but when they gather themselves once again, they do hit the Shatter Machine, that they call the Shatter Machine. I guess we're not calling it the Big Rig anymore. I don't know whether that was just a misspeak on commentary, but they referred to it as the Shatter Machine, and then they referred to it as the Shatter Machine again in in the instant replay. But the Shatter Machine gets the second fall for FTR. We are all tied up, and round 3 starts with apron stuff. It's Jay and Dax once again doing apron stuff, and then Jay hits a Rana over the guardrail to the concrete floor, which brings the medical staff over. The referee's pointing at his neck, indicating that Dax has done something to his neck, and I'm like, okay, cool. They just rolled out all those new rules about brawling in the crowd and not doing neck stuff and all that kind of thing, so I was hoping he wasn't actually hurt, but we found out pretty quick that both men got up pretty quickly, neither one of them wanting to shake off the match. And Dax hits a suplex on him on the concrete, and then back over the railing on the not quite concrete. FTR hit a double suplex on Juice and almost got the third fall via countout. When all 4 of them get back in the ring and all 4 of them struggle to their feet and all 4 of them have that sort of meet in the middle moment that long tag team matches have, where they just all kind of come to the middle and stare at each other for a second, barely able to stand before they start slugging it out. The ovation for the 4 of them looking at each other was fucking fantastic. White switches gears and he decides that the new story of the match is going to be Dax Harwood's leg. A lot of leg stuff, a lot of what do they call it? They call them basement dragon screws, and they look disgusting. I haven't quite seen it done. I mean, I know what a dragon screw is, don't get me wrong, but the basement dragon screw, where how it's a little bit shorter, a little bit tighter. It's like, people are going to hate this comparison, but it's like when Miz does his DDT from the knees. It's shorter, it's quicker, it's stiffer, and this was the same thing, leading into a leg lace and a long submission sequence that does not get the submission victory. Now, Jay White. I am a WWE guy. I'm not an ROH guy. I don't watch New Japan. I saw glimpses of him in Impact, and that was about it. I'm really starting to have that point in my brain of why was I not watching this guy earlier. For people that have told me for years, hey, you know, if you like this person and you like this person and you like this person, talking about people like Balor, like Seth Rollins, and etc., you're really gonna like Jay White. I'm like, if he comes around, he comes around. I'll check him out. I'm regretting that now, because this little thing, they're in Canada, they're in Calgary, they're in the middle of Hart country with this one team that clearly patterns themselves after the Harts. And not only does Jay White tease sweet chin music, the Shawn Michaels thing, Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart thing, whatever, instead of actually hitting the kick, he instead does the Shawn Michaels thing and locks in the sharpshooter on Dax. That's fucking so brilliant, and the reaction from the crowd was fucking awesome. You know, Cash and Juice come in at the same time, and they've got a double sharpshooter spot. Huge Calgary pop! And they turn themselves around even, so that Bullet Club Gold can do the spot that the Revival did when the Revival were fighting DIY at TakeOver, when they're holding each other's hands, trying to keep each other from tapping out, etc. That was brilliant. Both Cash and Dax collapse, because even though they are in control, they are the ones applying the submission move. They are so worn out, they've had their legs worked on so much that they collapse under the weight of applying the sharpshooter. Dax pulls off his knee brace so that he can sit down on a little bit tighter, gets his hands on Juice Robinson, locks in the sharpshooter once again, leans back like it's almost a modified bow and arrow. FTR get the submission, FTR get the third fall, FTR get the win and retain their belts. Now, going into this match, I wanted Bullet Club Gold to win. I was like, if FTR win, they're still awesome. I still like them, but it would be kind of cool. Let's switch the gears up a little bit. Let's throw a little bit more entertainment in there. Put it on Bullet Club Gold. They did a really good job at the end of making me think, just please give me a result, because about 2 minutes before the actual match ended, they announced there's 5 minutes left in the match, because these guys have wrestled for just shy of an hour. First of all, huge kudos for basically doing a tag team Iron Man match. Awesome. But also, as soon as they said there's 5 minutes left in the match or whatever, the immediate, like, instantaneous doom spot that goes off in my head is, God damn, please don't end this in a draw. So when you had that, please goddamn don't end this in a draw, FTR getting the win is fine. They stumble to the middle of the ring. They want to have a handshake with Bullet Club Gold. There's a huge pop once again. There's a shake their hands chant, and instead Jay White and Juice Robinson spit on the hands of FTR and fuck off. Now, this was awesome. It needs to happen again. It needs to happen on a pay-per-view, but also we've got the blind eliminator, the Can They Coexist tournament that's happening over on, I was about to say over on Raw, how weird is that? Over on Dynamite, where the finals, I think, are Garcia and Guevara taking on the admittedly awesome team of Adam Cole and MJF. And the winners between those two will get their tag team title shot on Collision. So I will get to talk to you guys about that. Now, I get that both of those are kind of heel teams. Like, MJF's a heel, Adam Cole's a face. The other two are still loosely members of the Jericho Appreciation Society. So I get that you want to put them up against a babyface team, but I'm sorry. There'd be a lot of fun to be had with MJF and Adam Cole versus Juice Robinson and Jay White. I think that would have been a lot of fun. But I will get to talk to you guys about that because it'll be on Collision, and I don't review Dynamite because Dynamite can fuck off. Also, I said something on Twitter that got me a lot of heat. Now, like I said, I was sort of staying off Twitter to avoid Slammiversary spoilers, but I did say, look at the kind of match you can have when the Young Bucks get out of the way, or when we stop pretending that the Young Bucks are the greatest thing ever, or something like that. That is not to say that the Bucks are bad. See, the Bucks and Kenny and the rest of the Elite, I've always said, and I will continue to say, and I will continue to reiterate this explanation until people get it. I don't like Kenny Omega. I never said Kenny Omega was a bad wrestler. I don't like the Young Bucks. I've never said the Young Bucks are bad wrestlers. The Young Bucks are basically Hardy Boys 2.0, and I'm a mark for the Hardy Boys, so I'd be a hypocrite if I said they were bad. I just think that although the high-flying, firework, gymnastic, whatever you want to call it, wrestling is awesome, and the things that they are able to do, the things that the Bucks and, say, Lucha Brothers are able to do in a match are fantastic. They are. I can't deny that. I really can't, and I would be an asshole to try. But when you take that shit away and you get a match like this, I'm not trying to be the guy, this is what wrestling is supposed to be and that new stuff is garbage. Not doing that. But when you get too much of the new stuff and not enough of this, you know, it's too much potato, not enough meat type of thing. And when you put that to one side, which Collision seems to be doing, Collision seems to be leaning more that way, and you get a match like this was fucking phenomenal. Juice Robinson was CJ whatever, the environmentalist gimmick in NXT, and Jay White was a guy that I didn't even know until a couple years ago. One match, 1 hour on my television on a Saturday night, and I'm invested in these guys. These guys, the fact that these guys didn't win tonight makes me want them to win more next time. And it makes me want FTR to beat whoever the Blind Eliminator winner is, so that we can have this match again. You can have gymnastics elsewhere on the card. It's fine. But this was fucking awesome. And not to be outdone, not to be totally left out of the conversation, we have to talk about the Elite, because if we don't, the world will stop spinning or something like that. We got a huge video package promoting Blood and Guts this coming Wednesday. Pat came back. I'm not going to lie, that's pretty cool. It sucks that Bryan Danielson is injured. Konosuke Takeshita is weird now because he comes out to that sort of monotone, one-note Don Callis music, and the whole other side of this match is the Elite who need to fuck off. I don't know what you want me to tell you. The match will be fine. The match will be absolutely fine. It's a rip-off of War Games. We all know it. They're not allowed to bleed as much anymore, and friggin' Jon Moxley can't bring his fucking barbecue skewers from Japan, so I don't know what they're gonna do with this match on Wednesday. I'll be watching because I'm sure it'll be as effective as the fireworks in the exploding barbed wire death match that didn't really explode and nobody died. Anyways, so that's my little window into Dynamite, which we don't need to do because I would rather talk about Collision. The Women's Owen Hart final, Ruby Soho versus Willow Nightingale. Willow Nightingale, who went on to beat Athena on Rampage, which I caught a little bit of, but I didn't catch that match. Willow's out in pink ring gear. I love all the tribute stuff that people do gear wise. I think it's great. Ruby Soho, even though she's out with the Outcasts and they have their black and green aesthetic, she still had the pink tribute boots. Ruby owns for most of the match. Commentator tells us all about Willow's tough times. The fact that she's lost her NJPW New Japan Strong Championship, the big purple belt that she beat Mercedes Moné for. She got beat by somebody named Julia, and I didn't realize until somebody showed it to me actually in writing that it's Julia like with a G, which I don't understand. I don't pretend to know about New Japan. But she lost that title. She got injured losing that title, so she had to postpone her qualifying match to this Friday, so she's only had one day to rest, and she's really behind the eight ball because not only is she not fully recovered, she just had a match last night, she doesn't have any backup when Ruby Soho does. I mean, it sort of telegraphed the winner of the match, but it's fine. Ruby Soho tries to get the paint can, and instead of using it, puts it in Willow's hand, goes for the false accusation, eye rake, hits the no future for a near fall, but Willow comes back with the pounce and the babe with the power bomb, which I guess is her power bomb, and gets the win. She goes up to the ramp where the Owen Cup. I think it's funny that if you look at the two Owen Cups, one of them is just a cup, and the other one they put flowers in it to distinguish that that's the girl one. I think that's a bit lame, I'm not gonna lie. You got Tony Khan with a cowboy hat on, so shoot me. Willow walks off stage where the platform where the trophy and everything is. She leaves with the trophy and leaves the Owen Hart winning belt behind. Excuse me. I didn't really understand, and then they clarified on commentary that Martha Hart was going to be there on Battle of the Belts to do the presentations properly. And I'm like, okay. So then my next thought was like, why did she leave with anything? Why don't we leave all the ornamental accoutrement where it needs to be until it's properly presented? But, I mean, at that point you were also hearing the rumors that Jushin Thunder Liger was going to be there to participate in the presentation as well, which didn't exactly happen either. Kings of the Black Throne beat up some jobbers. Andrade watched them from the ramp, and Malachi almost called him Alistair, and people will yell at me for that. Malachi Black taunts him with the mask while he's behind a bunch of security guards and whatnot. Okay, so the men's final. So far, really, really awesome tag match. FTR earned that win after wrestling for an hour, although I would have picked Bullet Club Gold. No problem. Not a problem at all. Really wanted Ruby Soho to win against Willow Nightingale just because I'm a huge fan, etc. But here's the point. Ruby Soho is one of those people that I will admit was not used very well in WWE. She came over to AEW, and the promise was that, you know, she was used really bad over there. Let's use her good over here. And then she got to the finals and lost last year. She got to the finals and lost this year. She got to the finals and lost when the TBS title was being established, but I mean, there she was going against, I'm just going to call her Lady Ryback because she can fuck off too. She went on Twitter and threatened to leave wrestling. Oh no, please don't leave wrestling, Jade Cargill. Whatever will we do other than see better wrestlers? They're really, really booking Ruby Soho as like an also-ran, which is really bad, because if you were the company that was going to save her, then that's not great. Now, the double down on that is the way I feel about Ruby Soho. She wasn't used very well in WWE. Hopefully they'll use her well in AEW. Was the same way that I felt about Ember Moon / Athena, who is killing it on ROH, but who watches ROH? She's got the ROH Women's Championship, but again, who watches ROH? And she also got sort of, you know, run over by Willow on her way to this. So some of the, and I know that these are only two examples, but some of the examples of stars that were not used properly in WWE, and yes, once again, I will say it, I understand and I acknowledge and I agree that they were not used properly in WWE. This whole idea that AEW saves everybody really needs to be put under a microscope. Now, that makes me sound like an asshole, because Willow's awesome, and it's not that I'm not happy for her. It's just, everybody's waiting for a turn, and it's just not happening for some people. And the Outcasts are a really cool group, and I was kind of hoping that, you know, maybe Saraya goes after Statlander and Toni Storm keeps her belt, and, you know, Ruby Soho doesn't have a championship per se, but she can go around with the Owen Hart belt, and just like they can do their own version of if you remember Undisputed Era's Golden Prophecy when they all held the belts. Now, if they rope in somebody else that's being underused like Athena, and she brings the ROH Women's Championship to that group, that will put more focus on her, put more focus on that belt, and maybe potentially get more people to watch ROH, because the people that I know that do watch ROH are saying if you're watching it, you're basically watching it for Athena, which is awesome in some regards, but not awesome in other regards. So, happy for Willow, don't get me wrong. Happy for FTR, don't get me wrong. Kings of the Black Throne have an ongoing thing with Andrade that will become something at some point, I'm pretty sure. And then we get to the main event, which is weird to say because after this main event, there's still like 4 more matches to talk about. It's fine. But it's CM Punk versus Ricky Starks. And again, I like Ricky Starks. I would love for really good, possibly main event things to happen for Ricky Starks, but he's going up against CM Punk, and it's CM Punk's show, and CM Punk comes out to the mixed reaction, and what are we going to do here? Logically, yes, you should give the new guy something to push him forward. Selfishly, because this company dicked CM Punk around for so long, I hope he squeezes them for everything he can. Punk comes out, once again I'm going to mention the Owen Hart tribute stuff. He comes out in the same Owen Hart bright pink tribute like fight shorts that he had on when he fought Samoa Joe, which is awesome. Mixed reaction as usual. Very, very one-to-one in the early going. Huge boos for CM Punk when he tosses Starks out of the ring and then sits on the rope holding it open for him to get back in. Huge pop for Ricky Starks doing the exact same thing after he gets in his rope walk against CM Punk. Starks starts working over the back of Punk. Punk sits up out of a Starks elbow. Starks tries to go for, I know it's not the CM Punk elbow, it's like the Randy Savage elbow, but Punk does it a lot. So Starks tries to do that, and CM Punk just kind of sits up. And it's kind of funny, because he just sort of calmly sits up. He doesn't like jut out of the way or like jerk himself to one side or the other. He just kind of sits up with a smile on his face. And it is a smaller version of when somebody comes off the top rope on Samoa Joe and he just does like the nope walk away. And I thought that was really, really cool, considering Samoa Joe was the guy that he beat to get into the situation that he is right now. They do the mid-air collision abdomen to abdomen, and both men are down. Both men fight up from the knees. There's a pile driver by Punk that looks like it sucked. Spear by Starks, and he goes for the pin, but the spear takes Punk to the outside. Punk counters the second spear into a crossface lock of sorts. They have a counter pin reversal sequence, and Ricky Starks beats CM Punk, which is fine. I don't mind that. Punk has lost in his comeback already. I'm not complaining about that whatsoever. Ricky Starks won with a roll-up, holding the ropes to win the Owen Hart Trophy. That's weird on a couple of levels, and he just he got this weird sort of like, oh, I'm supposed to be a bad guy now, and he sort of puts a smirk on, runs up the rampway where Jushin Thunder Liger is standing for reasons, grabs the cup, and fucks off. What? So, what? I don't know what to say other than Punk is sitting there in sort of disbelief, covered in the streamers that had come down for Ricky Starks, and the last thing you see to him as this part of the show sort of goes off the air is CM Punk outside the ring, sort of closely, quietly talking to David Benoit. I don't know what to... I don't know. I don't know at all. The tag match was great. Before the end, Punk and Stark match was great. Punk and Stark was like 11 minutes of what could be a great 20-minute match with a weird ending. And I think they're trying to say something with that I mean, I'm not going to go totally like, oh, it's a rib and they totally fucked over Punk in front of everybody in the Canadian. I'm not being that conspiratorial, but they're trying to say something with that victory, or the way that victory came about. I just don't know what it is. Like I say, the Willow thing, I like Willow. Willow is the coolest character of her type since the babyface NXT version of Bayley, and I genuinely mean that. I think she's awesome. I wish, you know, a lot of AEW wrestlers have come in and out of Destiny Wrestling, where I'm going to be next month. I wish Willow Nightingale would come to Destiny, because I think she'd be a cool person to actually meet. I am happy for her. I just think that it's one more checkbox on this story that we're telling about Ruby Soho being an also-ran, and that's not great. Especially, like I say, considering to get to the final, she also did the same thing to Athena. I think they need to pay attention to that shit. And I'm sorry, but it's true. There's not quite the parity in AEW that there is in WWE. The women's final got given what felt like 5 minutes, and the men's final was in the main event. Now, the men's final had CM Punk in it, understandable, but they're not presented the same. And I'm not saying WWE's perfect by any stretch of the imagination before anybody comes and tries to cut my head off. I'm really, really not. But they're doing a whole lot more to work towards it than AEW is at this point. I mean, if you listen, anybody that listens to the What Culture podcast, I don't agree with everything they say, and I don't agree with one of their hosts on most things. But every time they do a preview for Dynamite, they talk about like the one solo mandatory women's match and where is it going to be on the show, because there's only ever one. And yes, they've main evented. They've main evented twice. Once was when they had to transfer over the ROH championship, and Deonna Purrazzo got to perform in front of a huge audience, and that was awesome. And the other one was Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa, which was awesome. Don't get me wrong, but they called it a dark match, or they called it a lights out match or whatever. So even by their own rules, they said, yeah, we put the women in the main event, but the main event didn't really count because it's a lights out match. So they got to work on that shit. There's way more detail being put into the guys' stuff, and that's the understatement of the century. So let's go over to Battle of the Belts, and nothing really ever happens at Battle of the Belts, does it? I don't know what to tell you. Orange Cassidy versus Lance Archer for the International Championship. Basically, the story is Lance Archer kills Orange Cassidy for a while and he wins anyway. That's been his story for the past little while. Oh, you know, he's so broken down, he's so injured, he's held together with tape, but yet these big monsters that should be able to eat his fucking lunch, they slip on a banana peel and they win anyway, and it's gross. I don't know. I like Orange Cassidy, but it's like they're almost booking him like a charity case, which is a terrible thing to say. I do think that a cool spot on the outside was when they were all brawling and Cassidy was down, so Archer just decided to randomly beat up some security guards. But then Cassidy also beat up the security guards and piled them on Archer, trying to get a count out. I don't know. Apparently he broke his hand again doing the orange punch. I don't know. I really don't know what to say. The Acclaimed came out to say some stuff. They dropped in some token references about Calgary because they were in Calgary. They said they're going to get a trios titles match next week against the House of Black, which is fine. I don't know. I mean, 2/3 of the House of Black were out, 20 minutes ago, and you could have just challenged them then and there, but I don't know. Buddy Murphy wasn't there, so I don't know what the deal is there. Toni Storm and Taya Valkyrie was an entirely different scenario. Toni Storm comes out with a pissed off Ruby Soho because she's just lost another tournament. Taya Valkyrie's got some friends at ringside that the camera seems to focus on while they're brawling on the outside. Taya Valkyrie hits the hip attack and turns it into a stink face because Toni Storm's the person that does the hip attack. And then my feed died. And I don't know, because apparently it wasn't just for people up here watching on TSN. Apparently it was actually the signal coming out of Calgary because they had stormy weather and whatever, but the feed just died. So I tried to find other places to watch the end of that match. Didn't see the end of the match. I mean, pretty predictable, let's be real for a second, but feed died, didn't see the end of that match. There wasn't as much as I like the people in it, and as much as everybody was doing their stuff, Battle of the Belts has a stigma at this point, kind of like Rampage, where it's just kind of inessential. Willow and Ricky Starks came out as the Owen Hart winners. They came out in the nice branded Owen Hart t-shirts. They got presented their trophies and their belts and whatnot by Martha Hart, and Tony Khan's sitting there grinning like he just got his fresh batch of cocaine. It's fine. It's still weird that one's just a regular cup and one's a cup with flowers in it, because that's what AEW thinks you need to do to distinguish the women's division from the men's division. Just throw some flowers at the women. That's really bad. It's really, really bad. And we're praising and congratulating and hugging Ricky Starks, who, like, kayfabe just fucked over CM Punk. But I guess AEW's kind of saying that's okay because it's CM Punk and fuck him. I really don't know. I don't know what to do with any of this information. I'm not hating on it. It's kind of making me laugh. It's late in the day. I'm recording this at stupid o'clock as normal. So I'm kind of having a laugh while I say all this, but also, what the fuck are we doing? Luchasaurus versus Shawn Spears for the TNT title is your main event. Luchasaurus comes out, and Christian Cage comes out with the belt that he thinks is his. And Nigel McGuinness, I like Nigel McGuinness on commentary, but he thinks he's really clever when he keeps saying Christian Cage has a Gollum-like grip on that TNT title, which would have been a really cool line if he hadn't already said it approximately 722,000 times leading up to the match. We go backstage where Scorpio Sky is watching. He just came back last week having a very kind of predictable but really, really functional welcome back match with Action Andretti. Go back to my review from last week. You can hear me talk all about that. Shawn Spears is doing the chairman entrance again, where he's got the spotlight and the smoke, and he's actually got the branded Shawn Spears Canadian chair. He's got the cool, like, whited out eyes and all that. Going back to his promo from a couple weeks ago, where he told Christian Cage and Luchasaurus that everybody's got a little bit of danger in them and just takes somebody to bring it out of them, and obviously Luchasaurus has brought it out to them. I mean, the story here is pretty predictable. It's brute force versus speed and experience. For the most part, he sort of, like, handles the monster handling that he's getting from Luchasaurus. He chases Christian around the outside of the ring, rips his jacket off, and shows that Christian's wearing a sleeveless turtleneck, which is just odd. That's enough of a distraction for Luchasaurus to chokeslam him through a timekeeper's table at ringside. When there's another distraction by Christian borrows Shawn Spears' branded chair with, like, the pink Canadian flag logo on it, launches it into the between the turnbuckle pads, tells Luchasaurus to throw him into the chair. Luchasaurus gets reversed and he eats the chair himself, but that doesn't really deter him at all, because, you know, he's a fucking dinosaur. He hits sort of like a backshot lariat to retain his championship, just solidifying that Battle of the Belts is fucking useless. They could have shortened Collision by 3 minutes, done the presentation of the Owen Hart stuff at the end of Collision, and just not done this. And to make it even more awkward, they were shouting over the music as Luchasaurus win and retained and whatever. It's like, oh, we've just gotten word that there's weather in Calgary, and you guys didn't see the end of the match, so here's the last 5 seconds of it. Here's Tony Storm getting the pin as we go to credits and end the show. This was a fever dream. This was an absolute fever dream. It just went down. And I know you can't really help that because you couldn't do Battle of the Belts first, I guess. You started off with the tag match. That was fucking awesome. And I wish, just next time you're going to do this, just give me 3 hours of that match. Don't give me that match that's awesome, that I think is setting the stage for the rest of the night, and then give me Willow with a victory that I'm happy for her for, but I can see all the downside of. Don't give me Kings of the Black Throne beating up some jobbers for reasons. Don't give me Ricky Starks is now even more babyface because he cheated to win what is essentially a memorial tournament. Don't give me Orange Cassidy, who you're trying to tell me is held together with string, destroying Lance Archer. Don't give me the Acclaimed just because we're ticking the box that said we have to have the Acclaimed on the show. Don't give me a women's match that I can't see the ending of because service sucks. Don't send somebody awesome like Martha Hart out there to hug the guy that just cheated to win the championship that's in her late husband's name. And Luchasaurus, Shawn Spears, Scorpio was watching backstage. He didn't come out to do any type of assistance thing. Are they trying to tease that this is going to be a tag match later on down the line? Is it going to be Scorpio Sky trying to get the belt off Luchasaurus next, or is he just going to be out there to negate Christian Cage being on the outside? This was a fever dream, and I keep saying it, and I'm getting repetitive, and I'm laughing as I say this. Nothing was terrible. Even Punk getting kind of fucked over doesn't make me mad. It's just, wait, what? It's, what are we doing? It's fever dream. It's, I accidentally got into Tony Khan's stash, and I don't know how to bring myself down again. But Bullet Club Gold and FTR killed it tonight, and that's going to be my takeaway. Battle of the Belts didn't need to happen. That's all I got. This is your review of AEW Saturday Night Raw. I don't know. Fuck it. I've been Spaz, your YWC Reality Check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, I am tagging out. Go on Monday and listen to WWE last week, because it's probably more coherent than this. I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.